friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be sharing Cracked Polish's new Romanticize Your Life collection. The 6-piece collection features 4 shimmer polishes and 2 jellies, all launching tomorrow, that are perfect for Valentine's Day, whether you're feeling the lighter kind of lovey-dovey vibes or the darker, more alluring shades. This collection definitely has you covered. So as always, I will save more of my thoughts at the end after some comparisons. For now, let's just get into the swatches. So these first 3 polishes are going to be a part of the Love Triangle trio, and this first one is called Feed Me Treats, and it's described as a delicate sheer pink with pink and blue shimmers and a soft blue hue. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what that last part means. It definitely just looks like a sheer pink with a strong blue shimmer, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I love how glowy this shimmer is. It just stands out so much, and it is just so pretty and ethereal, very fairy-like and princess-like, just so up my alley. So no surprise, this is going to be a top favorite from this collection for me. The formula was amazing too. Obviously, it's just going to be a bit sheer on the first coat especially, but it builds up so beautifully. It's just so easy to apply and work with. It's still going to be a bit sheer on 3 coats where you see a decent amount of nail lines, so you might want to wear a blurring base coat or a sheer polish underneath, but I love it. The next shade we have is McLove Bug, and this one is described as a bright pinky peach with a gold sheen, small red glitters, and gold, green, and pink shifting flakes. So I personally would call this more of like a corally pink. I don't really think it's peachy at all. It like almost wants to be a hot pink, but it's not quite there. I would say this is almost like a mid-tone pink. And yeah, the formula on this one was really nice. Definitely a bit sheer on the first coat as you saw, but it does build up a lot better on 2 coats, I would say. There still is some nail line, so I did do a 3rd coat for this one, but I think maybe people with shorter nails can get away with just 2. I'm not super crazy about the flakies in this one personally, or like those little micro glitters. I guess with the name, it makes me think of maybe a pink ladybug or something, which sounds cute in theory, but yeah, I almost wish this one just had the shimmer in it. I think the little specks of glitter and flakies are just a little distracting for me. And rounding out the Love Triangle trio is Candy Painted, and this one is described as a hot pink with pink shimmers, and no surprise, this was another favorite of mine. You guys know I just love bright, juicy, hot pink, sparkly shades, and this one is no exception. It had a fantastic formula that was super easy to apply, very pigmented, and even coverage on the first coat alone. It was just a little bit sheer, so you can still see some nail line. Because this one is more of a darker shade, I just stopped it at 2 coats, even though you still can make out some nail line, but I just personally don't think doing 3 coats is necessary for this shade. But yeah, this one is absolutely gorgeous. I love that pink shimmer against the base. It is just so beautiful. And the next 3 polishes are also going to be a part of a trio called the Main Character Trio, and this first one is called My Blood Aches, and this is described as a blood red jelly with a brown undertone. So it's definitely not the typical red that you would go for this time of year. Even if you are more into like darker reds, this one feels a little bit more like a fall red to me because of that orangey brown undertone. So I kind of wish it was like a little bit cooler, or I don't know, maybe even darker to have more of that blood red color. It's still a pretty shade though, and as far as it being a jelly, I personally think I might call this more of like a crelly jelly type of polish, because as you can see, it is very pigmented and can be built up to be almost opaque, especially in 3 coats. There's just a little hint of nail line and squishiness, but it's not as translucent as other jellies. The next shade is Dark Like My Heart, and this one is described as a sheer smoky black jelly, and this one is definitely a jelly. You can see just from the first coat alone, it is incredibly sheer, but there still is color to it, but it just has that translucent kind of effect to it. So if you want more of that smoky color, you can just go for 1 coat, or you can start to build it up in 2 or 3 coats to deepen the color a bit more and increase the coverage. I found this one built up okay on 2 coats, where I like like how the color built up, but it can be a little bit uneven maybe, so you might have to be careful with your application. As you guys know, I can be pretty heavy-handed, so I'm not particularly good at floating the brush. So if you are, you can probably get away with this in 2 coats, but I do really like how it looked in 3 coats just because it looked a little bit more even and also deepened the color a bit, which I actually really love, by the way. This charcoal jelly is just so unique to my collection. And rounding out the trio and the collection is Situationship, and this is described as a dark maroon with black to red shifting shimmers. This was definitely another favorite from this collection. You guys know I'm pretty drawn to these dark, vampy red kind of polishes, and this one was just so beautiful. It had another great formula, pretty similar to candy painted, I would say, where it just applied really evenly, very full coverage on the first coat. I actually like that you can see that maroon color here on the first coat, but you are going to want at least a second to deepen up the color and get it to match what's in the bottle. While it definitely looks passable, I think here on 2 coats, I personally wanted to do a third for my swatch just to deepen the color a little bit more and just fully even out everything. I feel like I had some light spots near the left side of my nail or like my cuticle area, and doing the third coat definitely helped. It just gave me full opacity and just really deepened up the color. It is just so gorgeous, so alluring. And here is the full collection lineup. I absolutely love the range. It is just so fun having both the light and fun, playful pinks and the darker, more mysterious, sexy kind of shades. I also really like the range of finishes where we have some shimmers and jellies, and even between the shimmers, they're a little bit different too. So I think this is such a great lineup. So getting into comparisons, we're starting with Feed Me Treats, and of course looking at it next to Mooncat's A Midsummer's Dream from their Once Upon a Fairy Tale collection. It's easily one of my favorite pinks, one of my favorite Mooncat shades, but it looks a little bit more peachy, so I thought maybe something closer could be Cirque Colors True Love's First Kiss from their somewhat recent Far Far Away collection. This one definitely has a much more similar tone of pink base and a bright blue shimmer, but this Cirque polish is a shimmer graphic, so it has a ton of holographic sparkle in there. It's just not really picking up under this lighting. Even though they looked pretty similar in the bottle, I feel like on the nail they are pretty different, so definitely not dupes. I would say the shimmer in Feed Me Treats is more similar to Mooncat's, but it's less pearly. Then for Candy Painted, I had to see this next to Olive Ab's Lisa, which is one of my favorite hot pinks, and Olive Ab's. This one has more of a blue shimmer instead of a pink one, and the base is also just a lot brighter where it almost wants to be neon. So I think something a little bit closer might be Cirque's Pele from the Surfer's Crush collection. If anything, the base color is a bit more similar, but the shimmer in that one is more of like that green aqua kind of color, so it's totally different than Candy Painted. So these end up being pretty different on the nail. Cirque's is definitely more sheer and more of like a jelly kind of formula, so it ends up looking a little bit lighter even though I'm wearing 2 coats of each. So yeah, definitely no dupes. Then for my blood aches, I don't have a Cirque jelly to compare it to, but I immediately thought of Holo Taco's Brick Wall from the Down to Earth bundle in the fall. The Holo Taco is definitely a little bit lighter and more orangey leaning, but I feel like you can see that orangey undertone in my blood aches, which is why I would classify it as a fall red. So definitely not dupes, but I would consider them very much in the same family. So for Dark Like My Heart, I wanted to do a quick bottle comparison with Cirque's NSFW jelly and Dove jelly, which are their black and light gray jellies respectively. These are obviously not dupes, but they make a great gradient, and I'm just really happy to have a perfect in-between shade. And lastly, for Situationship, I wanted to do a quick bottle comparison next to a few previous cracked polish shades, starting with Velvet Seat Cushion from the PNW collection. That one is another super dark, vampy, alluring kind of shade, but it's obviously a lot more purple and not red or maroon. The only other darker kind of red from cracked polish is Number One Stunner from the No Theme November collection. And as you can see, this does not hold a candle next to Situationship. It is just a lot brighter and more orangey leaning. For an actual comparison though, I have Candy Paint's A Velvet Room, which I had shared in my Scorpio favorites video back in my Zodiac favorites series. This one has a bit of a brighter, almost crimson red shimmer and in a slightly darker, almost blackened base color. So they are pretty obviously different, at least to me they are. Maybe in low lightings I could see these two being mistaken, but they definitely give off very similar vibes for sure, just not exact dupes. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for Cracked Polish's Romanticize Your Life collection. As always, I would love to know what you think of these shades because, no surprise, I'm a big fan of them. I knew right away that I would love Candy Painted because I'm just such a sucker for a sparkly hot pink, but I was really surprised with how much I loved Feed Me Treats. I think that is definitely a new favorite pink. I also did enjoy the darker half of the collection though, and I thought the new jellies were fun. Obviously, I definitely much prefer the gray one. Not exactly what I would wear for this time of year, but still a really cool polish to have. But yeah, Situationship is just so good. Like, you guys know I don't normally go for like those dark, vampy, like sexy reds. I only have like a handful in my collection, but I love having this one. It is just so good. So yeah, I feel pretty split. I have a lot of favorites, but I definitely would love to know which ones you're most drawn to. Like I mentioned before, these are going to be available starting tomorrow, February 2nd, where you can grab them as a full 6-piece collection or individually, or you can grab them as 2 separate trios, depending on your vibe. As a reminder, I am an affiliate with Cracked Polish, so if you want to shop any of these shades while supporting me and my channel, you can do so by shopping through the link in my description box down below. As always, a big thank you to those of you who use either my link or code to shop. It really means a lot. But yeah, make sure to leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.